What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you are having a good day. This is Josh, and we are bringing you which will be the next step in our series of Kerbal Space Program tutorials. Now, in the last video, we got into an orbit. I think I talked about the next step. We're going to learn how to get to the moon, and then we talked about maybe doing a video on being able to land a lander, maybe practicing on Kerbal. I've decided what we're going to do. First thing is we're going to take a step into the advanced direction. We're going to take a look at some advanced staging and advanced fuel lines. What I mean by that is basically making an aircraft and touching on how to make that same aircraft more fuel efficient and how to make it more efficient, maybe able to get you further into space or whatever and preserve fuel. So we're going to design a very simple rocket here. We got our traditional simple small one-person cockpit with a parachute, decoupler. None of this we're going to need because this is just an experiment, but we're going to stick with what we know. So we're going to build a powerful engine, and that's our simple rocket design. Now what we're going to do to stick with what we were doing in the last video is we're going to make it 3 engines. So what we're going to add here, no, let's go 400. So we got the main T800 engine, then we got 2 T400 engines on the side, and you want those to be just slightly lower than the other one. And then we're going to again add 2 of the powerful engines on there. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to make 2 or 3 different aircraft with the same design and just slight modifications and see how much better the economy is. So we're going to full throttle, make sure you push R and push T to get your RCS and SAS on, and we're going to launch. Now we're not going to bother doing like the throttle down or anything to save fuel. This is just pure, everything's going to be put under the same extremes and to see how high we can get. So we're going to keep the dot in the center. If we get to 10,000 meters, we are not going to angle off or anything like that. We're going to stick straight up. This is just an experiment to explain my theory to you. So keep it right in the dot. Just go right till you run out of fuel. You're not going to learn much from this. Like, you're not going to have to mimic this because this is just an instructional video to show you how much advanced staging helps. Now this theory is going to be even greater on if you start adding more engines, more tanks around the sides of the tank. So what we have here is we have run out of fuel on the left and right tanks because the tanks were smaller with the big engines, and now we have the big engine in the middle with the fuel tank. But the problem is that you're still going to get great fuel economy, get very far in space, but the problem is that it has to carry the weight of the outer tanks and the engines with it. So if you press the M key, we've run out of fuel. Our apoapse, which is our highest point, is about 72,000 meters. That's about our highest we'll get with this. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the vehicle assembly building, and we're going to make some slight modifications. Everything's going to stay the same tanks and everything. Remove the tanks to the side, make sure symmetry is on 2. Structural. Now you're going to click on the structural tab, and there's TT70 radial decouplers. So you're going to attach those to the sides of the tank. Try and get them in as centered as you can, maybe even a little no, but as low as you can go. Not quite as low. That's pretty good. Now you want to attach the tanks to the decoupler. This can be a pain in the ass sometimes, but we got pretty lucky here. So this is the same design. Once you get into taller tanks, you're going to have to start adding struts. So you'd add a strut here. If you get to a point where you're adding 4 tanks instead of 2, like if you're adding quad decoupler, so you got 4 engines all the way around, you could add struts going from one tank to the next and then in. So now with this stage, what this does, let's make sure we got this set up right. You want all 3 engines to burn at the same time, and then when you press space, these decouplers detach, the side ones at number 2. The third decoupler is the decoupler for the capsule. What this is going to do is it's going to be the same launch. It might be a little bit of a slight performance decrease that you would never notice. But the difference is once these 2 empty fuel tanks burn out, you have the ability to detach them from the ship, and that's going to make you be able to go further into space in theory because you're saving weight. So we're going to go ahead and apply that theory to practice here. R and T, put those on, and throttle up. So the performance decrease off the launch is going to be very minimal. You will never notice a difference. Technically, I guess you may if you're really technical about it, because the decouplers and struts do add some weight to the vehicles. But the performance increase you're going to get at the top when the engines burn out is going to be more than enough to compensate for that. So we're already almost out of fuel in the main tank, on the outside tanks. And so we have run out, spacebar, those detach, and now you're onto the main tank, but you're at 10,000 meters. You're already big part of the way out of the atmosphere. And this is the problem. We detach those two tanks, and the main engine is already half empty. So let's burn out of fuel here. But we're getting at a very good speed. We're accelerating very fast because it's a very, very powerful engine, the most powerful you can get. And it's such a small rocket. Okay, we burnt out of fuel. Let's press M. Apoap's 245,000. So just that difference alone, Apoap's is the highest point you will reach at your current trajectory. In the first attempt, we were 72,000 meters. Because we cut weight when the engine's burnt out, we've over tripled that. Almost times it by 4. So we'll get over almost 250,000 meters out before our gravity takes us back. So we're going to try one more thing. So our main rocket is done. We're going to now go into the structural propulsion tab again, symmetry on. Once you get into like bigger stage rockets where you have, instead of 2, if you have 4 of these, like 4 going all the way around, or 6 or 8, symmetries you're not really going to want to do, because what you want basically is you want to transfer fuel from the main tanks, the outside tanks, to the main tanks. So that, what that's going to do is make it so that when the two tanks detach on the outside, not only is the engine's burning fuel on the inside of those tanks. Let me explain it simple. When you launch this rocket, the tanks on the left and right are using the engines on the left and right are using fuel from the left and right engines, using fuel pumps like that. Clicking on the top left, you see FX2 external fuel duct. On symmetry mode, you now have fuel lines going from outside tanks to the inside. Make sure you want to click, the first click you make is going to be from where you want it to transfer from, and where you click on next is where it's going to transfer to. So what that's going to do is that as all 3 engines are still going to be burning, but not only are the engines on the outside going to be using the tanks on the outside, they're also going to be transferring fuel to the middle tank. What that's going to do is it's going to cause the outside tanks to burn out a little bit faster, significantly faster actually. But then once you dislodge those 2 outside tanks, the middle tank will be full. Will that help our fuel economy? Well, let's find out. And here we go. So we are now launching again. Not much of a performance decrease here because the fuel lines don't really add that much weight. But you can see the outside tanks are burning out much faster if you look on the bottom left. That's okay. So we're at about 245,000 tanks burn out, space, and you see now we have a full tank. Now we're going to see if that will affect our fuel economy. I don't believe the amount that it affects you is as significant as it is when you have multiple engines. Like instead of just 2 extras, if you have 4 or 6 engines. But we're going to find out really quick here, because now we're at 12,000 meters. This is big. Keep in mind now, before we detached before this amount, right around this amount I guess, and we had under half a tank. We are now over half a tank and accelerating very fast. So this might be enough to put us on an escape curve and trajectory. So we might not even be able to get back into gravity here. Gravity may not be able to pull us back, but we're going to find out. Now we should be okay. So we are now basically out of the atmosphere and accelerating very quickly. And yeah, so let's see what this gives us. So press M. 574,000. So that basically, when we did just the simple rocket, we got 72,000. When we did the second decoupler stage, we got just under 250,000 kilometers, which is still very good. That's just standard. Launch the rocket, decouple the extra tanks when they run out, and keep going on the main one. When we transfer fuel to the main engine, back into from the outside engines into the main engine, so that when we detach those rockets, the main engine is full of fuel. We almost doubled the previous experiment. Actually, we more than doubled it. We were 248. We're at 574. So over 100% increase. And you'll see here we throttle down. We will get very, very, very far from the planet, but still have enough to get us back home. We may land in some water. Oh, no, it doesn't look like we will. And so coming back into the atmosphere, detach our stuff. And there we go. So let's wait for our parachute to deploy here. Should deploy about 500 meters or so. Alright, so that is pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to show you how advanced staging and advanced fuel, I think they call that actually asparagus fuel. I'm not really sure what it's called. I just call it advanced fuel lines, advanced fuel systems. Can actually get you further in space and make one ship surprisingly much more fuel economic. Fuel economic, is that the right way to say that? How can make it more economic on fuel, saving fuel for getting into outer space. So in the next video, I have basically perfected the art of getting to the moon. In the next video, we are going to do 2 steps. First video will be getting us into a moon's orbit. Second video after that will take us into getting onto the moon. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get you home, but I can get you to the moon. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, of course, I would greatly appreciate any like rating you could give me. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot more to say, and I hope you learned something from the video. And I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out.